All right.
And
Thank you.
everyone may have just gotten a notification about the meeting being recorded. That's just to make sure anyone studying for midterms or who can't make this meeting can still get the very helpful advice by Professor McDonald and our advisors. So I hope everyone's all right with that. And sorry for interrupting, Professor.
Not at all. But, okay, so that's like the basics, I guess, of what I would say initially.
Okay. Molly, Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. So there's two things that I wanted to just touch base on regarding the spring 20 semester and things that might have changed. If you're a declared computer science major or an area of interest within the College of Engineering, you should have received an FAQ regarding the new PNC policy that's available for the spring 2020 semester only. I know this is very different than every other semester because computer science classes generally don't have an option like GPNC. This policy is very different than the GPNC policy. One of the main differences is that you cannot select a threshold and the grade that you want to show up on your academic record. If you elect the PNC option, a grade of P, if you get a C or better, will show up on your transcript. And if you get a C, below a C, so a C minus, D plus D, or F, then an NC would show up on your academic record. For the spring 2020 semester only, a P will satisfy a major requirement. If you are an area of interest in computer science, please, please, please follow up with an advisor within the College of Engineering to discuss how this could potentially impact major admission. There are some stipulations in regards to that. If anyone has any specific questions also about the policy, just in general, also follow up with the College of Engineering advisors. We're doing remote advising on a daily basis from 10 to 4, so you can submit a request for academic advising. Also, a P will satisfy a prerequisite. So if you say you get a P in CSE 216, that is sufficient to be able to go on and then take 316. The other thing I wanted to mention is for students who are following the old requirements and need to take CSE 308, as you know, that class is no longer being offered. So if you're looking to enroll in CSE 416 as a course substitution, you will need to request permission via our petition form, and that can be found on the CSE website. Does anybody have, I guess if people have questions, they can share them in the chat. If they're general, we can try to answer them. You may just be asked to follow up with an advisor if it's specific in your case.
Okay, so do you have anything else to say, or sorry?
I mean, it really depends. Those are really the major changes this upcoming semester. It looks like someone chatted that they're looking for some questions specific to a specific course. Kevin, do you want to reply to that or answer that?
Sure. So the 337 is usually not too difficult a course. The prerequisite is only CSE 114, so that a broad spectrum of students can take it. So it's probably one of the easier electives, I guess, that we have. It's very useful, though, I would say, to have some ability with Python and Bash. I think is a good thing. Really, whether you're a CS major or an IS major, I think it can be valuable.
In regards to the next question, when you should hear back regarding your request for 416, if you are currently enrolled in CSE 320 and you don't have a final grade yet, you will not receive a response until your final grade in CSE 320 has been posted. If you've already completed CSE 320, you will likely receive a response in the next few business days. I know registration starts for some on the 6th or the 7th, so just be patient. We do have a ton of requests coming in, but students who have already completed 320 will receive a response in the near future.
Oh, there's another one from Darren. Let's see.
No, Darren, you must take CSE 300. It's a required course for the CSE major. However, the AMS department may allow you to use CSE 300 for your WRTD. You will want to follow up with Kathy Aragetta in the AMS department. If you're looking to take CSE 416 instead of CSE 308, yes, there will be petition forms until no more students need to take 416 in lieu of 308. If you're following the 216, 316, 416 sequence, you do not need to fill out the form. You should be able to register for 416 on your own, assuming you meet the prerequisites.
So Billy, if you need to take 416 in, let's say, the spring of next year, then there'll be a form in the fall for that. So you don't have to fill it out now. This is just for students who are going to take, who want to take 416 in the fall.
Joe, PNCing a course will not affect your full-time status. It also will not impact any type of New York State financial aid, including TAP, Excelsior, STEM, and any other New York State scholarships. Also, another thing in regards to the PNC option is that your instructor will not know if you've elected this option. It's the same way how GPNC works. They would not see that you've elected it. They would assign you the grade that you've earned, and then that would either then change to a P or an NC. Billy, if you're looking to take 416 next semester, so if you're looking to take it in the fall 20 semester, you would need to fill out the petition form. Just be mindful that
Oh, I will text her.
based on the demand of the course, students be notified of a. Did you hear me?
Your audio is cutting out. We can hear you now.
Okay, I'll repeat that. So if you're not graduating, but you're looking to take 416 this semester, you can still fill out the petition form. However, your request will not be reviewed until all graduating students have been accommodated. Spencer, yes, as long as there's no overlap in time, but you want to be mindful of when courses end and where you have to get to the other class. But solar should not impact you registering for that.
Mm. So Medad, you can do that, yes. In CSE, we don't have separate 475, 476 courses. We just allow you to take CSE 475 twice. But yeah, I've met a number of our students who have done exactly what you're thinking about. We have students who like to TA for calculus and linear algebra classes like that, and they also TA with CS. So yeah, you can do that.
Just be mindful that there's a certain credit limit that we can't stop you from taking it for more than 6 credits. However, only 6 credits of TA work will count towards your cumulative credit and your upper division credit. Anything over that will not count. So you can only use 6 credits towards upper division and cumulative credit. But we can't prevent you from taking that for TAing more than that. You just won't earn credit for it to count towards your general education requirements.
So regarding CSE 346 and 310, if you're on the old track, you can take either course to satisfy the major requirements. But under the new track, the 216, 316, 416, students are required to take 310. And you cannot use CSE 346 as an elective even. You won't get credit for both. You'll only get 3 credits on your transcript. The courses are very different. I mean, 310 focuses more on practical things. So you'll do a little bit of coding. You'll have like lab assignments, things of this nature. Whereas the ESC version of the course, from what I understand, is more like book learning. Studying the protocols in depth and stuff like this. So there's definitely a different flavor to the course. 2 courses. The CS version definitely has more of a CS feel to it. So, naturally, I would recommend our CS majors take the CS version of networks if you can. So Joshua asked, is CSE 385 being moved to the spring semester? There was some talk about that. Let me take a quick look at my notes to see if we have that tentatively on the spring 2021 schedule. In the past, there had been competition between Skeena's 373 and the 385 class, which does not help anybody. So right now, CSE 385, that's the honors algorithms course, is tentatively scheduled for spring of 2021 to be taught by Professor Bender. And I suspect that we'll do this going forward so that we're no longer competing with ourselves. So Spencer asked, is there a way we can check what electives are being offered in spring of 2021? Let me see if anything was officially posted on the department homepage. You have to understand, even with the fall schedule, there could be last minute tweaks. This often happens. So let me see to what extent we've posted things for the spring. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box so everyone can see it. This lists the courses that the department offers in the most, we've offered in the most recent past and going into the near future. So we do have spring 2021 listed. This has to be updated manually. It does list CSE 385, which is interesting. So this is what's tentatively offered. Well, now I couldn't tell you when this was last updated. Probably not, it's subject to change. Probably not recently. Sure. So Isabel asked, what are some common pitfalls that freshman, sophomore students fall into that we could warn them about? One is not managing your time carefully. So as you get into the first couple semesters of the major can be a little rough because your programming skills may not be that sharp yet. You're getting used to college life, right? And then as you get into even some of the other 200 level courses, 216 and 220, they can be rather time consuming. So you have these projects you have to work on, even if you're into the major. So I think time management is a huge thing. Related to that is not overcommitting yourself with all sorts of other things outside of class. So if you're working a part-time job and you have a 45-minute commute, you would not want to take 18 credits at the same time. It's probably not going to go your way. So I'd say, one of the main pitfalls of underclassmen really is poor time management. And so it's a good skill to learn. It'll help you, it'll pay dividends the rest of your life, really, certainly throughout your professional life. Let's see, we have a whole bunch of questions here. Let's see.
So in order to declare a specialization, you'll need to follow up with Molly or myself via email. If you have specific technical questions about the specialization you're looking to declare, you'll want to speak to the faculty advisors about that. They might be able to give you some better insight as to the technical basis of each specialization. If you declare a specialization, the courses that count towards a specialization may also count towards your technical electives, assuming that they're not required courses for the major. So for example, the data science and artificial intelligence specialization, the 4 courses that you take may count towards your technical electives for the major.
The reason we ask you especially to talk with an advisor, including staff advisors, is to make sure that you can actually declare it. So just because you fill out the form doesn't mean you're eligible yet. You have to take a certain number of classes first in the specialization. So that's another thing is just in the interest of streamlining the process, it's good to talk to an advisor. And also I've talked to a lot of students who are interested in specializations. It's good to talk to a faculty advisor too, about, is it the right choice for you? Depending on your interests, is it feasible to get it done within the next, X number of semesters you're going to be at the school? Some of these specializations require a lot more, a fair number of credits compared to others. So these are the kinds of things that you'll want to talk about before you commit to a specialization. Having said that, if you don't satisfy the requirements for the specialization, it's not going to prevent you from graduating, provided you've satisfied all the other requirements. You just won't get that annotation on your academic record.
Billy, if you submit the form and you are not a graduate, that's okay. All requests are reviewed anyways, so you can still check the box. Otherwise, it will not let you submit the form.
And Connor asked a question about, do students typically take 316 before 320? And what about the timing of 310? So these are good questions. So the first thing I would say is don't take them both at the same time. That would be really bad. So 316 and 320, you have very different projects, but in both cases, they're pretty substantial. 316, you're doing web development, and you're writing a lot of JavaScript code and studying APIs. So you have to spend a lot of time digging through documentation and writing a lot of throwaway code. With 320, you're dealing with a new language, C, and you're getting into the nitty-gritty details of how pointers work and memory management and file systems and system calls and all of this. And they both can be pretty rough for different reasons. But what they have in common is they're very time-consuming. I think it's typical. What I usually advise is students take 316 first, for the reason that it's more high level than 320, so you're probably more accustomed to working at that kind of level, and it gives you more program experience, which would prepare you better for 320, where again you have to deal with all this low-level detail, and just dealing with binary and hexadecimal data and all of this. So the two courses are fairly challenging for different reasons. Maybe 320 has a little edge on that scale. So taking 316 first, it just gives you, you get one more semester of programming practice and experience before you tackle 320. In terms of 310, the only prerequisite there really is 220. So you can think of it as an elective in many ways. There's some amount of book learning, a little bit of coding. The thing about networking is there's a lot of facts and figures, a lot of details about how protocols work and the different levels of the networks. There's a lot of detail there. Any kind of systems work involves, we'll consider networking a systems topic for this discussion. Anytime you touch systems, there's a lot of detail. So treat it as a systems class and kind of as an elective at that level when you choose what courses to take it with.
Joe, in regards to your question regarding dropping a second major or moving it to a minor, it depends which college the second major falls in. If it's a major within the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences, you just need to fill out the major minor declaration drop form. Same if you're looking to move it to a minor. If you are looking to drop a College of Arts and Science second major and or move it to a minor, if you're looking to just drop it, you would follow up with you would just submit a declaration form to the registrar's office. If you're looking to move a College of Arts and Sciences major to a minor, then you would need to speak with the department to get that form signed.
Samuel asked a question, is it a good idea to take 373 and 303 in the same semester? I usually discourage students from doing that because they're both theory courses and consequently there's no programming. So it's good to match those up with programming classes. So, in an ideal situation, you would take 373, a hard software course, let's say 316, and a non-technical course, like 300, all at the same time. And then you would repeat this with 303. We'll take 303, 320, and 312 at the same time, something like that. So try to spread out your theory classes. You only have two really at the upper division level. So try to match those up with your harder software courses so that, because the alternative is that if you take two theory classes at the same time, it means you're losing one of those in a future semester, and you'll have to take an extra software course at that time, and you'll have more and more projects to do. So that's the rationale for this. So I would say try not to do that. And then we have a couple questions from students about like combinations of classes. So again, I would try to follow the general thought process of like a hard software course, theory, and something else. So Anthony Lee said, he's asking about CSE 320, CSE 355, which he notes is an AMS course, and CSE 337, which is the scripting languages class. That's not a bad combination. That should be doable. I wouldn't want you to take any other CS courses though at the same time. So if you were going to take another elective on top of this, I would discourage you from doing that. But as another student mentioned, 355 is largely a math course. You'll be studying algorithms largely and data structures. So treat it as a theory class. And then your schedule, I think, would be, should be doable for most students. And Queenie had also kind of a similar question. Is it plausible to take CSE 300, so 303, 310, 316, and 334 in the same semester? This is starting to make me more nervous. I mean, if this is all you're taking and you don't have any other like serious time commitments, so for example, you're not working a part-time job, you're not commuting an hour each day, you're not, there are no other major commitments in your life, then I think this is at the limit of what I would suggest. I mean, 310 will have programming. 334, you have a lot of, you have several, individual projects. You'll probably do like a video editing project, a 3D modeling project, an image editing project. You'll be doing a lot of hands-on stuff, which is time-consuming. So I think those four you mentioned would be the limit of what I would suggest to any student. So I would just say be careful. Okay, be careful about that. Okay, Madad has a question. Can you talk a little bit about the amount of math and programming that is used in the several data science AI courses? Which of the courses are very heavy with math, and which are the classes you would recommend for students who are interested in the field but not looking for a heavy mathematics course? Okay, in some ways that's saying like, I like programming, but I don't want to learn, Python or something. So I know Madad, so I can give him a hard time. Anyway, so some of these are more mathematical than others. The most mathematical is probably 354, which is machine learning. Makes heavy use of probability and even a little bit of statistics and calculus even. So that can be a heavy class. I'm sorry, 353. Sorry, 353 is machine learning. I misspoke. So machine learning has a lot of math in it. The others, not as bad. So 357, which is statistics for data science, I think it's like CSE 310. It's like AMS 310 level statistics. So not too bad, not that bad. 354 is natural language processing. I think we're only offering that for the first time now, or very recently. So I don't have much detail on that actually. I don't think there's a ton of math, but I would have to look into that. Our most recent offerings of 352, which is AI, has been entirely math. It's like graphs, a lot of graph stuff. No coding really. Not too bad a course based on how we've offered in the past. And 351 is, again, it's not so, that course is more applied than 357. So 351 is the data science class. You do a lot of Python programming in, what's it called? IPython, I guess. So it's like this online, or Colab even, like Google's sort of implementation of, which is an amazing system. If any of you want to play with data science or just Python in general, check out Colab, colab.google.com. Or you can access it through actually your Stony Brook Gmail account. Just log into your Gmail and go to the the 9 dots menu, whatever it's called, the waffle menu, I think they call it, and then you can see Colab. It's amazing. But anyway, 351 is going to be more on practical things than math. Okay, so 357 was very heavy with math, says Jihu. Thank you for that. Okay, so he does it's probably a lot of statistics, right? Is my guess. Yeah, 354 is a lot of math too. Okay, so so Ajay says this. So it's going to depend on perspective, depending on also your background in math. But yeah, of the 5 that Madad mentioned, yeah, 351 and 352 are probably going to be on the lighter side of math, and the others are going to be heavier. So that was interesting about the 354, the natural language processing. Yang Yang, yes, so you're asking about 304 compilers. Probably not. If you're a student in the BSMS program, I don't remember if you are or not, keep an eye out for 504. You're not, okay. But if any student is interested in compilers, which is what 304 is, which is a really interesting topic, there's a 504 version. It's a graduate version. You can keep your eyes out on that. The other thing is that this semester we made some official changes to CSE 307 to, I guess you could say, officially incorporate the compiler material, some compilers material. This is how Professor Fodor has been teaching the course, by bringing in a project where you have to implement an interpreter for a language. So that's actually compiler's work. You learn about parsing and lexical analysis and all of that. So you get a touch of it, but the real course, I don't think so, I'm afraid. Probably not. There's just not enough interest. Okay, so Connor has a very specific question. This combination of classes, 316, 373. Okay, so far so good. 337, which is not too bad. An AMS 311. Yeah, AMS 311 is a lot of probability theory. So those 4 courses, I guess, is what you're asking. So if you did 312 instead of 373, that would definitely make your semester easier. 373. I'm guessing you're a double major in AMS. So, I mean, either one would be okay. Again, I'm assuming that these are the only 4 courses you're taking. Either way is probably okay, but taking 312 instead of 373 would definitely make your life easier. 373 can be a lot of work. It's not an easy class. Okay. Cynthia says, can you talk about CSE 331 and 332? So 331 that's the intro to security class, if I recall correctly. There's all these numbers in my head. Okay, so 331 is, fundamentals of security, and 332 is intro to visualization, right? So like medium difficulty electives, basically, I would say. So students have very good things to say about both classes. They find both of them very interesting. So 331 is set up as a few like small projects, maybe, and like a lab, kind of like a lab exercise of sorts. These kinds of experiences. And again, students really like the class. Having taken it with Professor Nikiforakis, they really like him. And then Professor Mueller teaches CSE 332. Again, it's a really neat class. It's visual, which is fun. We're very visual creatures, so you get to wrangle with data. You can see some of the challenges of interpreting data. So it's a good class. I would say either of them would be a good like medium difficulty elective, and I think you'd find either one very interesting. Okay. How difficult, Spencer asks, how difficult is 416 plus 306? That's going to be pretty rough. 416, as you know, you're working with your teammates on a big project. And depending on how good or bad your teammates are, you may have a great or a horrible semester. So it depends. If you're on a rock star team, then it might not be too bad. 306 is going to be a lot of work. This is related to the question that Jihu had. The 2 courses, the 2 professors do teach the course in a little different way. One with C, with Professor Stark, and one with Java, with Professor Kiefer. They use different virtual machines. They each has his own style of how he thinks is best to teach that class. So systems work in general can be challenging because of the low-level nature of it and the complicated data structures and algorithms. So I think it could be challenging in either version. Web security. So now I'm out of my depth there. So I think for that, we don't offer that course that often or often enough. So I think for that course, Arpedia, I'm going to recommend that you talk to the instructor. When you get into these electives that we don't often offer as frequently as we might like, my level of, the depth of my knowledge is not as deep, I guess. So I'm going to have to refer you to the instructor on that one, I'm afraid. Okay, Ajay. What if we want to enroll in a CSE graduate class as an undergraduate, not in the BSMS program? Can this count towards a CSE technical elective? So it's going to depend on the course that you pick. The thing is that, well, up until recently, who knows what's going to happen in the fall with this coronavirus, but up until recently, our master's program has been huge, which has really pushed out a lot of undergraduates from taking graduate courses for fun. So the person you could talk to would be C.R. Ramakrishnan, cram@cs.stonybrook.edu. I'll type it into the chat. He is putting out fires all over the place because of all of our displaced master's and PhD students. Some of them had to go back to their home countries. It's a horrible, horrible mess. You have no idea. Well, actually, some of you do have an idea, I guess. But most of our graduate students are international, so they scattered all over the place, and so he's still trying to help those folks out. So if you email him, about taking a grad class, it's not likely. I think just based on the size of our program right now, if you're outside the BSMS program. So I want to give you the straight truth on that. Have a backup plan, in other words. Okay, Daniel, how is 320? I feel like I'm in court being like interrogated. So how is 320 plus 373? That's a good combination. What you could take with 320 and 373 would be something like CSE 300 or 312, like a non-technical course. That would be a good way to round out those three. Okay, Yang, taking a lot of low-level nitty-gritty stuff, but I've avoided front-end stuff like the plague. Front-end stuff is fun. What are you talking about? I think doing some front-end work would be fine. I wouldn't call 357 rather, like a front-end thing, but it is data science. So I mean, there are a couple hot areas in CS, and I think it's good to have some exposure to them. One of them would be data science or AI or machine learning or one of those. Another is security issues. So in terms of like recommending which one of those two classes, it depends on your short-term career goals and your interests. But I think, for each student or major to have some exposure to an AI, data science, machine learning, big data-ish type thing, and natural language processing, having exposure to one of those, I think is good.
In regards to paying for tuition, if you're TAing for an undergraduate CSE class, if you're earning credits, so if the course is 3 credits, you are required to pay tuition. Yay.
Let me try to get the link to Colab. This is an amazing system. I only learned about recently. I started playing with it. Let me see if it's Colab. Oh, I gave you the wrong URL. Let me make sure I have the right URL before I tap it into the chat.
In regards to Arpita's question, you would need to work with your instructor about TAing for a course over the summer and how the job responsibilities or TA responsibilities would change. With anything during summer session, if you have other commitments, we wouldn't recommend taking summer session courses. Summer session is very fast paced. You're taking 15 weeks and you're squishing it into 6 and or 8, depending on how many weeks the classes or what session it's taken in. So if you have other commitments going on over the summer or vacations and you cannot fully be available for it, we would not recommend summer session. And that's not just for TAing, that's for general coursework as well.
Isabel asked about Colab or IPython. So CSE 351, the data science class, uses that. So in terms of the data science packages, you can install, and there's a distribution called Anaconda. It's a distribution of Python, which has all this data science, all these data science libraries attached to it. You can install it, and then it runs the Python interpreter in your browser, actually. Colab is essentially the same thing, but you don't have to install anything. It's a little slow because they don't give you, you're running, your code is running on on Google's hardware. So they're not going to give you access to some super duper, computer. And like after a while, like your connection times out if you're not active, but it works. All you have to do is import whatever libraries you want. So it's a nice utility. Anthony, any plans on offering cloud computing again in the future? So Professor Ferdman is our only person right now who's in a position to cover that class. And he's going to be on sabbatical during the coming academic year, meaning he's not going to be teaching. So I would anticipate that in the 2021-2022 academic year, we could offer that again. But we have not had any discussions in the CS department about course schedules for the year after next. That's just a little bit too far into the future. Okay, I think Arpita's question was answered, right? About, okay. Spencer, is part 2 of multimedia systems ever coming back? You mean CSE 364? I encouraged the department to put that on the schedule, which apparently was a mistake because only like 2 or 3 students registered for it. So right now, I guess the interest is not strong enough to run it. That was my mistake. I thought it was there. So we'll just have to see when we can consider offering that course again. We really need to get 15, 20 students to have a reasonable chance to have a course run. We really need to have like that number. Otherwise, it's just, it's not a good use of human resources, really. So Medad asked, yeah, the provost sent out an email. I was reading it too. Well, I was waiting for this meeting to start. So everything has to be online. All summer courses at Stony Brook are going to be online. Our provost wrote that there would be exceptions only in like really extraordinary circumstances. So anything like I have to update my own classes actually, because originally I was going to give on-campus exams and that's not going to happen now. So everything has to be put online. I just got an email from the registrar's office about this very topic. So there's still some updates that are being pushed to the registrar's website about logistics for the classes, but everything has to be online, period. So if a course can't be converted to online, then we can't offer it, is what it boils down to. And the CS faculty are aware of this. It's such a sad mess. This whole thing with the virus is so sad on a human level, all the people who are dying from this. And it's been so disruptive to people's livelihoods and people's education, as you all know. So it's a sad time. Who's teaching CSE 352? Let me see if I have that. Again, this is all tentative. Professor Balasubramanian is scheduled to teach it. But things can change. Things can change within a matter of days before the semester starts. That actually happened this semester, I think, or last semester, I forget which. I guess this semester with our machine learning class. It just happened. Yeah, 307 also changed. I think 215 changed as well. So anything I tell you here is subject to change. Professor Fodor is scheduled to teach 307 next spring. 312, I wouldn't even give. I mean, Professor Scarlato's Tash book are there, but again, we had last minute changes this semester on that too. So I would say don't concern yourself mainly with fall 2020 at this point, because even little tweaks there could happen at the end of the summer. Sure. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on a second. Yeah, so it's Professor Niranjan Balasubramanian. If you recognize that name, right, you've been paying attention, all right? So he and Professor Aruna Balasubramanian are married. Okay, Yang, can we expect instructors to be listed for all classes before April 6th? No, probably not, realistically. I don't know which ones. I haven't looked at the schedule as posted on Solar yet, but anything with staff means it's not staffed yet. So like the CSE 300 courses are always left until the end, pretty much. So basically whatever you see in Solar is the current, that's like the most current information that the department has. We update that thing pretty regularly. Is there a particular course you have in mind? Yeah, the 300 classes are not even staffed by our department, really. They're staffed by the writing center. So we say, look, we have these 5 sections, we need people to teach it, and then they give them to their people. That's basically how this works. They don't actually work for us, which I know is strange. Okay. That's probably true. So Madad said, I saw that 305 was not being offered in spring of 2021. Are there going to be changes? It's possible. So this is one of these courses that is no longer semi-required. So under the old track, students had to take 305 or 306. Most of them took 305. And so as students are under the old track or graduating and leaving, the demand for that course will probably go down. Spencer mentioned, you get some exposure to databases in 316 and to an extent in 416. So I think there'll still be some interest in the course, but it'll probably wane, I think, as time goes on. Having said that, if there's strong demand for that course, then we can run it. You know, if there's demand and we have an instructor, you know, we can run it. But my anticipation is that it's going to become less popular as time goes on, simply because it's not effectively required. Same thing with 307. You know, depends on the interest of students. You know, things like data science and AI are really hot these days. There may be less of an interest in a class like 307. It just depends. It really depends. Will the course offerings change if fall semester classes are moved online? I really hope that doesn't happen. And is there anything we should think about while registering for classes now, since we don't know if classes will be on campus or virtually? So I don't anticipate that the schedule would change based on whether we offer the courses in person or online. That's my sense. Just because we have to offer courses, we have to continue educating all of you. So I don't think that you should necessarily take that into consideration, whether they're going to be in person or online. We really don't want to go through this again. Certainly not for an entire semester. 6 weeks is bad enough. So I would say, let's try to be optimistic about this and plan to be on campus in the fall and choose your courses accordingly.
Also, just to piggyback off of that, the PS option that is rolled out is only for spring 2020. Don't assume that that's going to be an option for summer or for fall. That is very clearly stated that it's effective for spring 2020 only. So just be mindful of that.
Oh, let's see. How heavy of a course load would it be advised? Okay, so Samuel's asking about 216 and 220, and then what else would be advisable to be taking? Yeah, right. Don't take any CX classes with it. You know, if you need to take a math class, that's fine. Maybe at this point you might have an SBC left to go, and you could take that. I wouldn't take any of the CS with it.
216 and 220, that would also be probably more beneficial to you.
What was that? What was that? To split them?
Split 216 and 220 into one in the fall, one in the spring.
If you can do that, yeah, that would be better. Not all students can do that. It depends on your timing,
Right.
like how many credits you brought into the university, if you have AP credit or whatever. So if you can split it, it's good. For CSE 495, which is the honors project, right?
Yes.
So if you can find someone to commit to be your advisor, then go for it. Why not? I think that's fine. Maybe set up a Zoom meeting with the person or people you're thinking about having as your advisor for your project. I would say that, you know, true. If any, we have, you know, a lot of students in the department like to do research projects with faculties, and it's going to be a little harder to make those personal connections now, I think, offline like this or online, whatever this would be. So, but you know, be proactive. Try to do it. Can you compare 306 versus 376? So 376, we only we had it so Zadok is teaching it now for the first time in like 3 years or something. He's been committed to other stuff. So, and he's thrilled to be, and I'm happy too that we can offer that course again. So they're different though. So 376 is probably more closely aligned with 320 in the sense that, well, is that true? I mean, yeah, 376 focuses on things like system calls, I think, which is, yeah, you're in the weeds with the OS, but whereas 306 is more like how the OS is implemented, like how the kernel is implemented, 376 is more like taking advantages of those capabilities from low-level application software. So the content is a little different. Yeah, that's a good. Yang Yang gave a good explanation there. 376 is about writing good C code. 306 is how an OS works. So you can see the perspective is different. You know, so 320 and 376 is more like on the outside of the kernel, looking in.
In regards to 216 doable over the summer, it's doable because we wouldn't offer it if it wasn't. However, again, just be mindful of the time commitment and the work that's going to be put in. If you have other things going on throughout the semester, it's not recommended to also enroll in a summer session course. Joe, in regards to your question about TAP, yes, in your second to last semester, you only need 6 degree applicable credits. It doesn't necessarily have to be for your major. It could be for your general education requirements as well. In your final semester, you only need 1 credit towards TAP. However, in both semesters, you still need to be enrolled as a full-time student.
Oh, Spencer asked about which is harder, 376 or 306. Well, I guess in part it's going to, 306 again is taught by 2 different professors using 2 different languages. So if you're a Crackerjack C programmer and you really like it, then you probably be okay with the 2 courses might be of comparable difficulty. But if you're not so comfortable with with C, you maybe would take the other version of 306, which is in Java, and then 376 could be more challenging for you. So it really depends on your prior experiences, I would say. It's hard to say, I think. Who's teaching CSE 306 during the spring? Right now? I think it's Professor Stark.
I think you're correct with that.
Is that right? Okay, yeah. Next spring. Okay, well, Spencer wants the next spring. Let me let me see. Again, this is all tentative, Spencer. Just keep that in mind. Professor Stark is scheduled to teach it in spring of 2021. From KM to everyone. Those are my initials too. Do you think that these 4 courses, so 320, 300, 333, and 334 is a good combination? I don't know. I mean, so 333 is user interfaces. And this semester, let me see if that's, this semester it's being taught by Professor Xiaojun Bi, who is one of the inventors of the Google Android keyboard. I think that is the coolest thing, that you get to learn from this guy. So how heavy his class is, I'm not actually sure. But 333 and 334 are generally not that heavy in terms of like complicated concepts and algorithms and data structures. The focus there is more on development. So you could wind up doing a lot of development time. I would rather see you, really, I would rather not you take any kind of hardcore development class or let me call it not hardcore, like a time-consuming development class with 320. So if you're dead set on taking an elective with 320 and 300, which is not so bad, try to take one that has as little implementation or practical work as possible. If you're really good at Python already, or you're a bash wizard, then 337 might be okay. 330, 330, 334, they're probably okay too. I mean, again, I would rather that you not do projects or of any kind with 320. But if sometimes it happens, like with transfer students, they have no choice. They have to take some elective with 320. That's just how it is, and you'll just have to deal with it. So taking, I guess, lighter electives would be okay. I would not take both, though. I think that's a bad idea. I would take 320, 300, maybe one of those 2 electives, and something else that's easy. Basket weaving or whatever. Downstream canoe paddling, something like that. That's not going to tax you. I think you have to be careful with that. The 320 course can be really tough.
Madad, we don't have the answer to that question because that's not anything that has been discussed at within the department.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing this. That's pretty rough for a professor to count a final exam as 70%. That's kind of harsh, but as Sarah said, you know, it's not really in our purview. How does CSE 488 work over the summer? You can do it over the summer. You'll have to register for summer 1 or summer 2, extended, I guess would be best. But basically, otherwise it works like the regular semester. It's just in a compressed time frame. So you can fill out the form for CSE 488. You just go to the I'll give you the URL. Get my mouse here. So I'm the coordinator for that course. Okay, so you go here and you have to fill in your information and upload the offer letter you have from your employer. So you have to secure a position first. And the requirements of the job, like in terms of the academic requirements and others are on the CSE 488 homepage. Since there might be virtual work, I'll have to relax the requirement that it has to be at a place that has a physical presence. But the other things, I'll still enforce, like it has to be a real company, or a real organization with actual employees, not you and your friend, which has happened in the past. A student wanted to have an internship at his friend's company, and his friend's company consisted of his friend. Okay, that's not the purpose of this course. So anyway, you have to complete 180 hours worth of work during the internship, at least, for it to count towards the 3 credits. And naturally, it has to be largely a technical experience. So at least 90 of the 180 hours has to involve some kind of development-like work. It could be writing code. It could be doing QA work, designing UIs, stuff like this. It has to be technical in nature. So assuming, let's see, if you did it over 8 weeks or even 6 weeks and you worked 40 hours a week, that's more than 180 hours. That would be fine. Okay. No, Spencer, I mean, the credits that you register for with the registrar's office would be in the summer. So you would have to pay summer tuition. So the solution to that, of course, is to get a paid internship, which is what we always encourage for our CS and IS majors. And then, basically your job would pay your tuition. And then hopefully you have mad money left over to play with. .333. Okay, so there's a question about CSE 333. So that's a fall 2020. Oh, let me see if I have that. Oh, that should be in solar. Professor Scarlatos is listed as teaching CSE 333. That's what I have in my spreadsheet. I would have to see Cynthia on solar though, who's actually teaching it. It's probably him. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so Spencer, you're going to be out of state. Well, you can still register for the course though, if you wanted.
Tuition's just more expensive.
Yeah. Oh, it's out-of-state tuition then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I would just pocket the money, and take a course in the fall instead. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot to. You're from what? New Jersey, I think, right? Which we can forgive you for. Let's see, Nicole. How doable is taking 316, 355, and 333 together? That should be okay. So 316 is going to be a lot of coding. 355 is primarily like a math class. 333 will have some hands-on work to develop UIs. And you know what? your work in 333 might even help you a little bit in 316. There's a possibility because you have to do some, oh, I'm not supposed to touch my face, right, in coronavirus. You have to do some UI work in 316. In my personal opinion, do you believe earlier in the day classes or later classes is better? Better than what? No. So I would not want to go to class at 8:30 in the morning. But if I had a choice between 8:30, this is my personal, opinion. If I had a choice between, let's say, 8:30 in the morning and 8:30 at night, at the extremes, I would probably choose the morning one. I teach a course at 5:30, which is not that late, and the students are still like zombies. So I don't know. I mean, it's how your biological clock works, which is different for 20-year-olds than it is 40-year-olds. So if you look at the habits of highly successful people, like you read like the lives of successful business people, they get up early, and they get their day going early. What's this famous book, the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People or whatever? If you look at these sort of self-improvement type books, especially those of who are successful in business, they start their days early. So you want to imitate what successful people do.
Also, if you think about it, when you go into the workforce, work starts at 8:30, right? Or 8 or 9, not at 11 or 12. So you're getting ready for the real world. You might want to consider changing your preferential biological clock to be something that fits in with society.
Right. Computer grammar is right, not English grammar, right? That's very funny. No problem. Oh, let's see. Are there any updates with the curriculum in regards to the ABIT requirements? Will there be any changes in the technologies used in 316? So those are kind of two different questions. So I hope not. I'm the ABIT coordinator. Regrettably, any changes are going to be incremental things, like tweaking a course here or there. I don't think it would be anything as, well, frankly, disruptive as the change we made to this 216, 316, 416 curriculum. That was not done only in response to ABET requirements. It was also some concerns on the part of those who teach the senior software, the software engineering course, and the students were not really properly prepared always, or that the students would come in with very different levels of preparation. So that's part of the reason why we introduced this single path of 216, 316 to get to 416. So I would not anticipate any changes that would be so disruptive. Will there be any changes in the technologies used in 316? I would ask McKenna. My guess is over time, yes, simply because that's how the industry moves. The poor guy, he spent, I forget, like a semester or a summer or something studying some API, and then like something else came out that makes it obsolete. So I think what you're going to find is every year or 2 at most, the stack in that class will probably change. Yes, see is forever. Thank you, Yang. Right. Finding work can be fun. I've developed my own set of, my own, what's the word I'm looking for? My own share of GUIs. It can be fun, but it's very labor intensive to make interfaces. There's no doubt about that. I agree with you. And with these days, you're right, it's kind of worse with all the APIs coming and going, all these libraries, and they're all different. Yeah, I've been very successful in my career of avoiding JavaScript. And I plan to continue avoiding having to learn JavaScript as long as possible. The language itself is kind of rough. Yeah, so poor Fodor is going to have to spend his summer learning Redux, probably. So I don't envy him that. Object, yeah. Well, Java has that insanity too, right? The object class. It's like, what were they thinking? Was that he learned it? Yeah, so I think Redux was what Professor McKenna was upset about. Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess the guy who created it abandoned it and made something else. think that's what it was. I guess he's told this sad story to, yeah, he's told this sad story to a lot of students and to myself and Fodor. That's the thing. Yeah, when you're in this fast changing niche, that's how it goes. Jihu, yes. Will 114, 214 continue to be in Java for the near future? For the near future, I think so, yeah. I think so. Changing those two courses would definitely be disruptive. Other universities do things a little differently. Like our 114 courses is pretty rough. So like community colleges and even some four-year institutions will split 114 into 2 3-credit classes. If we did that, it would change things a lot. It would certainly, it would change major admissions. You know, it would extend the timeline by 1 semester. So we would have to be very careful. Well, although if 2 students took 215 their first semester, I guess it wouldn't be. But we don't have any near-term plans to change 114, 214. What Spencer wrote is right. That 114 is aligned closely with the AP Computer Science A test. So there is that. And Java is a good language for learning. I mean, it does object-oriented design very well. You know, as much as I like Python, for objects-oriented stuff, it's not that great. You know, Java implements things like abstraction, you know, abstraction very well. You know, and polymorphism and inheritance. So as an educational language, it's really good. In practice, it's okay. Not my first choice, but it's still used a lot in industry. I don't think a lot of people realize this. It's still a very popular language in industry. There's a lot of deployed software there written in it. That's an excellent idea. Jihu wants to use MIPS in CSE 114. Well, so Jihu's a character. He's my research assistant this semester, developing a simulator for MIPS along with another student. So yeah, we should definitely foist MIPS on the freshmen. Is CSE 332 going to be offered next spring? Let me take a look at the department website. It's scheduled for the fall only, so not for the spring. It's one of those courses where, although there's enough demand to run it once a year. I'll phrase it that way. Probably not twice. There's also an issue of personnel. We have to have people to teach these classes. Let me give that link again. So this is the link. Whoop. So this is the link that shows you what's coming up the next year. Well, so Spencer asked, how can we petition specific courses to be offered in specific semesters? Basically, this is it. You know, talking to me is probably the best way to voice your wishes. There are a lot of, this is a highly constrained problem to solve, like what courses to offer when. Some courses can only be offered by a small number of faculty, like certain electives. We only have so many like visualization people. We only have so many security people. So classes like this can only be offered in certain times. A lot of the faculty who teach those classes are also teaching graduate courses, and those have to be scheduled. So that's another whole set of constraints that are placed on. So what is produced each semester is like the best mix of courses we can offer in terms of required courses and electives based on availability of people. Peter asks, is there any plan for special topics courses to return? So yeah, in the past like year or two, we haven't had too many. Before that, we had a lot. And what happened is that they all became regular classes. So like cloud computing, natural language processing, statistics for data science, I think data science itself. So there's 4 courses right there I can think of off the top of my head, which just a few years ago were either special topics courses or were just ideas. So that's one of the reasons you haven't seen so many special topics classes later, is because the ones we had were all converted to like regular courses, which is great. Yes, the Professor's Bailey is right, is offering $390 in the summer. It's on mobile app development. I have not spoken with him about this since everything moved online for the summer. Hopefully he can continue to offer it. Actually, I had an email from him earlier today, which I haven't had a chance to read. So he's very excited about teaching that class. He really wants to do it. So I think you'd have a good experience with him in that course. And I think it's a great class. I mean, what could be? I mean, it's such a hot area and such an interesting area. So we shall see about what other courses we can offer. So let's say this course is really successful. Maybe we can make it a regular thing. You know, attach a real number to it and then offer it more frequently. But again, it depends on availability. You know, he teaches a lot of different things. He's our data structures person. You know, he teaches 311, the systems administration course. So there's some things that he teaches very frequently that we have to run. So it depends on availability of people. It's always a problem. We need more professors. Actually, to follow up on our Peter's question, are there any plans for special topics courses to return? If there's a group of students who have a real interest in a topic, it's like a strong, and when I say, you know, a decent number, at least, let's say 15, 20, you try to get as big a group as you can. And it seems to be related to something else we have, like in the same general area, or it's like a really general course like this one that Professor Ismaili is going to teach on mobile computing. Like that can be applied to a lot of different specialties. Then let me know, and we'll see if we can find someone to teach it. Would an MAT minor be beneficial if I want to go into a math-heavy area of computer science? If you wanted to go into cryptography, let's say, I would say yes. You know, take courses on number theory and stuff. Or if you want to do a lot of work with like geographical information systems and computational geometry type stuff, you want to get into the mathematics of those areas, then having some pure math would be good. But, you know, computing is generally an applied field. So given a choice, I would rather see students take a couple extra CS electives in areas, in some area that they're interested in, that they want to start their career in, let's say, than do a minor in something. Again, there are exceptions to all this. Let's say someone is really interested in user interface development. Like that's really their passion, and they've exhausted all the like UI and visual courses that we offer in the CS department. There's a branch of psychology called human factors where you're studying about, you know, in part you're studying about like usability of things. I would take some psych classes, you know, in that case, maybe even minor in it, who knows? You know, so there's exception to any kind of rule I could cite. But if you're going to go into a math heavy area, I think you would want to pick what area that would be and then target your courses accordingly. Cryptography comes to mind as like the first thing that's really math heavy. Because another one would be like machine learning. I would do applied math in that case. Do a lot of probability and statistics. Do some more linear algebra. Not pure math. How beneficial is an AMS double major? Depends on what you want to do. You know, if your goal is to become a software developer, become like a generalist, like you don't have a specific area or a specific industry within that you want to go into, then I would say it's of minimal value. But if you think you might want to do some work in data science or AI or machine learning or big data now analytics, maybe data visualization even, or medical imaging, areas where there's a lot of math, like applied math, then, you know, I think there could be some value there. You would want to choose your courses carefully, though. Don't just take, you know, 5 or 6 random AMS classes to get the AMS major. You know, do your Calc 3, maybe Calc 4, maybe, depends again. And then pick electives which align with your goals. So I would say that if you have a goal in mind and you can get courses that help you reach that goal, then great. But I wouldn't do it for the sake of doing it, really. I'm very goal oriented, so that's my opinion. Was computational finance ever offered as a special topics course? Yeah, Professor Banerjee taught a course on this not too long ago. I can't remember if it was a graduate course or an undergraduate course. I don't remember. I'm not sure, Medad. I don't remember. He taught it a couple of years ago, Banerjee, but I don't remember if it was at the graduate or the undergraduate level. What about AMS as a minor? Sarah, is it even possible to minor in AMS and major in CS?
Possible, but not really worth it. You would rather do a double major because any courses you use for the AMS minor cannot count towards your major. So any courses that you took that were applied math that are required for the CSE major would not count. So you end up taking more courses to complete the minor than for a double major.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met an AMS minor. Joe asked, what happened to CSE 323? What happened to CSE 320? Human-computer interaction. It's probably one of those circumstances where instructors, you know, the instructor's committed to other courses. It's probably what it is. But again, anything can change. Who's teaching CSE 378 next spring? We don't usually offer that out of our department. Let me see if we are. TBD. It's listed as TBD, which means it's probably not going to happen. So the robotics course, unless it's going to be offered by another department, is probably not going to have it in CS. Would you recommend a TSM minor to someone interested in product or project management? I've never been asked that question before.
I would recommend following up with Rita Redco from the TSM department. It looks like for their minor, you have to take a design course, a skills information course, and you have a lot of options as to how you can complete it. I would follow up with the undergraduate program coordinator, Rita Reagan Redco.
Kevin asked a good question. As someone who's looking into his first CSE electives and isn't sure what to focus on in the industry, do you have any courses you think would be a good place to start? So that's interesting. So then you have to just try a couple different things and see what kind of clicks with you. I mean, if you look at the industry, like what are some of the important and big areas? I mean, anything dealing with the web, of course, is good. Now that's built into our major now with 316. So in the past, that was not the case. So I would encourage students to take some class which involves, you know, web programming, but you're going to get that. You know, this whole data science, AI, machine learning area has gathered so much steam that I think taking a course in one of those areas would be good. There are, let's see, 4 or 5 that I can think of, like data science, statistics for data science, machine learning, natural language processing, maybe AI, not that's a more theory-oriented course, but when the first four I mentioned, data science, statistics for data science, machine learning, and natural language processing, those would give you exposure. You know, taking one of those would give you exposure to that big area of, you know, the computing world. I think it's good for students to have some exposure to security as well. You would only have one option there, which would be 331, because all the other security classes have that as a prerequisite. So you might consider that as well. So I mentioned these two as sort of broad categories just because they're both important really in many different areas of IT and computing. Another thing you can do is, assuming we're on campus in September, you know, attend the first meeting of the first couple of meetings of a few different of these electives, and then make your final decision that way. Yep. So of course the choice of instructor is an important one, obviously. So that's another thing. You know, some students will learn better from certain professors' teaching styles than others. So that's another thing you have to take into consideration. What's the difference between CSE 487 and 495? Well, so 495 is for students in the CS honors program, and it's the first half of a year-long research project that students have to work on. I know we have at least one or two CS honors students here. I think they have to do a thesis of some kind, or some kind of paper. 487 is open to anybody, and you can do it for variable credit. So you can do it for 1, 2, or 3 or more credits, actually. I would not do more than 3 in one semester. And you can count 3 credits of 487 towards your, I think that's right, towards your major requirements. So you just have to be careful about that. Let me look at, I'm just going to pull up unless Sarah has the answer off the top of her head. I think you can use at most 3 credits.
For 487?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can only count once towards your technical requirements if you take it for 3 credits.
Yeah, there you go. And basically in both cases, Samuel, you're working with a faculty member on some research or development project, what it boils down to. So it's called, you know, these are referred to as research projects. That doesn't mean that you're working on a cure for COVID-19 or something, right? It might mean that you're just developing something different, something new. Maybe it's not publishable, but it's something, hopefully something innovative, something interesting and new. Will Skeena teach 351 next spring? I doubt it. I doubt that. Let me see if he's listed as teaching anything there. He usually goes back and forth between algorithms in the fall, and then this graduate data science class we have in the spring. So that's usually what he winds up doing. So I don't think he's teaching data science. Let me see. Spring. Bear with me a second, I'm looking it up. Right now it's TBD. So we don't have an instructor yet for data science in the spring. Garrett Chen asked, what happened to CSE 328? It's one of those electives where the interest is unfortunately not strong enough to run the course as regularly as we like. Again, under the old CS major requirements, it was one of these 5 courses that students had to choose from. You had to do 3 of the following 5. So like 307, 306, 304, 328 was in there, networks was in there. Even when that course was in that bucket, it wasn't as popular as many of the other electives. So as of now, it's not on the schedule for the coming academic year, but again, that could change. It's one of those things, if there's enough demand, and we have someone to teach the class, we can run these courses. But if we put a course on the schedule and only less than 10 students enroll in it, it's going to get canceled probably. So we have to, and every time that happens, it disrupts the students who had been registered. So it's a challenge. We have this balancing act we have to play between offering courses that students want, but making sure we have enough to actually run it, essentially.
And just to add a quick note, since it is almost 4, I want to give some SBCS updates and then have WiCS give any WiCS updates right after. So to let everyone know, we still have election submissions open if you'd like to run for an e-board position for next year. You can submit your video for that up until this Sunday night. And then our voting form will be out from Monday until Wednesday, where we have an election GBM at normal campus lifetime time. And so that'll be a Zoom link that you can find on our Facebook or in our newsletter, pretty much anywhere. And we might stream some games tomorrow or some point in between if you want to ask any of the current e-board any questions about what it's like being on e-board. I know Professor McDonald would say that leadership definitely helps with being an active participant in classes, so I would highly recommend running for a position if you want to make some change in the organization.
Thank you for coming to this event. It's our first virtual event, so we were a little anxious, but the attendance was good and the questions you guys asked were good. Thank you, Professor McDonald, for coming to this, and thank you, Sarah and Molly, for also pulling up at such short notice. For WiCS active members, the elections are up. You can vote now. The videos are also on our Facebook page. And you guys said you wanted a WiCS Minecraft server, so we'll be working on that. So stay tuned. Yeah, that's all I have to say on WiCS's behalf.
We love it. All right, and yeah, I just want to say thank you also to WiCS because y'all did such amazing setup and all the Zoom stuff. So I don't know, just thank you to everyone. Yeah. Do we have any last minute questions, literal last minute questions, or does Molly and Sarah and Professor McDonald want to say anything else?
Be safe. Stay the F at home, right? Is that what Samuel L. Jackson said? All right. No, just stay home and be safe. I'm happy to, answer questions through email if you like. You can come to my office hours. I'm having Zoom office hours. They're listed on the CS department homepage. And yeah, my pleasure. This is always fun.
So if nobody has any more questions, we'll be concluding the event. Thank you for coming. I guess the event is over now. I don't really know what it means to conclude a Zoom event.
So we will just hit leave meeting, I suppose. I think
Yeah.
that's what we do. All righty.
Yeah.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you.
Bye.